cool creatures of the Ural Mountains. I've been waiting for this episode because this one will be a list of animals that I think are just so awesome that they just need a place specifically for them. But first, the Ural Mountain Range is buried in Russia of Asia and goes about 1,572 miles in length from the Caspian Sea to the north of Siberia. Most interestingly, the creatures there are sectioned off into various locations such as anywhere from north to south to forests, tundra, rivers, ridges, and can even host a very high temperature since the range is so high up. Although, when I say very high temp, I mean very high for Russia, as it can get about 5 degrees Fahrenheit on the west, because the east is obviously Siberia. Moscow is to the west, so you can realize why people live there and not Siberia. Also, it descends down into a desert, so yeah, it's pretty freaking long. One thing that's important to note is that these mountains are high, but they are also some of the most rounded, curved mountains in the world. So they are most commonly known as hills rather than mountains, and they are navigated by animals of all kinds. Meaning the problem where animals get trapped at the top of a mountain due to frozen cliffs isn't really an issue here. Let's just get the regular ones out of the way first. You got your wolverine, you got your polecat, you got your common viper, common nightingale, common gopher, common brown bear, common lynx, common elk, common grass snakes, common salmon, Arctic foxes, which is so cute. I know it's so cute, Phone. You agree too? Yes. And the snowy owlets. Most of these have the common in their name, so that's obvious why it's so common. Now just take a note that all of those mentioned are not all living together, as they all live in separate climates in the mountains. The first cool animal is called a nelma, which is a species of fish that is related to a whitefish. It's also known in Wisconsin. It's also a town in Wisconsin. Fun fact! Funny enough, it's much like a gigantic salmon and somehow has the same phylum as a Carcharodontosaurus, which that's another video. There are 2 species of this known as Leucythis. That is solely held in the Caspian Sea, and the Nelma, which is most used for fishing within the Arctic Basin. It also takes its rest in the Yukon River in North America. It uses the Arctic Pacific Ocean as a pathway to a breeding cycle to further their delicious species. Oh, I love salmon so much. But that just look at how huge this thing is. That's a meal for a king and a country. What are you talking about? I'm keeping this short, I'm sorry. The next animal is opposite from cool because it's hot, resting in the deserts of Asia, which the Urals actually go through, so it counts. Oh yeah, it's the jaboa. Wait, no, it's not a boa. It's actually pronounced jarbu. Jarbus are little tiny hopping rodents, much like a very tiny mouse with rabbit ears and ostrich legs, with the capabilities of a kangaroo. Unique design. These animals make up the bulk of the family Adapodidae, which is irrelevant right now. It's really small, but dang, can it run up to 15 miles an hour. And with those toothpick things known as legs, it can jump pretty freaking far. I'm not sure how far because I couldn't get the measurements online, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty far because it hops all the time. The desert seems to be a perfect place for animals that have bipedal ways to run, as its brain is capable of becoming so erratic that it will actually confuse itself where it wants to go, which also confuses any predators. Just imagine it with a just like a very long-legged spinda with extreme speed. It's mostly nocturnal. It eats what rodents eat: crops and grass and bugs. Food of all kidneys. Wow, that's a lot of typos. Must have been tired. Food of all kinds. But it also is more closely related to a gerbil than a common mouse or rat. Now, the next one is more related to us than the rest, known as Sable, who is a rock star wrestler lady, but it also means black. Oh well. Now, a sable isn't really what I just said it was. Well, actually, now a sable are actually just martens. These aren't just in the Ural Mountains like most of the others, but they are far more diverse since they are found in China, Korea, Japan, all through Poland and Scandinavia. Also, martens are found in the US, Mexico, Canada, even South America and Africa. These things are abundant, but not this sable species. Specific subspecies, I should say. That's 1/10 of the world, mind you. Unfortunately, it's farmed for their fur, and while they are abundant still, it could one day become endangered like many animals before it. And especially when its fur is a luxury good that can reach up to $192,000. Oh my lord. The lowest I could find was literally $35K. 35,000 USD. What the heck? I mean, this is just one subspecies of marten, which is much like a weasel, because I never actually told you that, if you were wondering what a marten was. And this species of animal can be found across the world in all places like I mentioned before. The sable can even be kept as a pet, and they look cute enough, but would you want a pet someone was simply off because they could poach it a quick buck? I couldn't take the heartache. Moving on to birdie wordies. We have the Western capercaillie, a grouse, otherwise known as a peacock wannabe. I'm joking, but the males are twice as large as the females and show an extravagant display to woo their bride-to-be, and then get into fights because a rooster just has to piss someone off, don't they? The thing about this subspecies is that it's not endangered specifically, but Central Europe, the population is thinning and some are extinct in certain regions. These birds are mainly grounded simply because they aren't unnaturally picky when it comes to their homes. They want perfect comfort, so they usually tend to only hide in young tree growth instead of that old, overgrown, too complex to say everything. Whoop, skipped a line. Instead of that old, overgrown kind that doesn't have any easy access to those succulent bilberries they love so much. These guys are far too complex to say everything, as birds usually are. So I'll just say that the mating ritual is extremely complicated, and they are very fickle creatures. The first sight of did you hear that? Can send the female flying away to never mate again. That's gonna destroy the species. So yeah, foresting has a very big impact on these animals because they just don't pick actual forests that could actually help them. They're just too picky for their own good. And I wanted to end this off with the coolest animal of all, the reindeer, also known as caribou. These puppies or deer come in giant herds, and when I say giant, I mean gargantuan, because they can get into hundreds of thousands, into millions of single species caribou mabu. The one in the Ural Mountains is the largest in the world, that can reach up to 1 million herd members. Of course, reindeer can also be found in Of course, reindeer can also be found in Canada and Alaska, including Scotland and Greenland. Sadly, this epic creature that can have 53-inch velvet antlers is on the vulnerability classification in North America, as the reindeer of the United States territory is now confirmed to be functionally extinct. This is sad because these animals are unique in such a way that the females can grow pretty big antlers too. Not to mention, these antlers are velvet, meaning it has a coating on their antlers which makes them fluffy. These animals have been a lifeline for people such as the Inuit in harsh north of the whole planet. They supply food, work, and the members of a family so large that just one herd of them can trample an entire city to death. Too much? Well, I hope you enjoyed our look into the coolest animals of the Ural Mountains that are not exactly just in the Ural Mountains. But now you know that the Ural Mountains fauna is nothing outright special to its region. And it's so freaking large and so freaking smooth that no animal that doesn't want to be there just won't go to. And just won't be there. Although, I will say that the Yeti may live there. But I believe we'll leave a cryptid out of this for today and leave it with animals that we know are real. Unless you thought reindeer didn't exist, in which case I say you poor, poor soul. Caribou!